name's Adriana, and for the purposes of this group, I have chosen high school girls, specifically girls with a history of self-esteem issues, bullying, and/or self-harm. The girls must have already been working with their school counselor and must be referred to the group by their school counselor. Um, the reason I think that there's a need for this group in specific is because um, girls have such a difficulty um, relating to each other. They compete with each other more than they build each other up. They bully either in person or on social media. There are so many avenues for competition and and bullying, and I think that there's a correlation with um, what they're experiencing in terms of bullying and their self-worth. And we're seeing um, so many mental health issues like depression and anxiety and all of these things. And I think it is pretty directly correlated with um, what they're experiencing with their peers, whether it's in person or online. Um, about 20% of high school students report having been bullied, sorry, and about 30% admit to bullying others. So I think that's a pretty good indication that the bullying is being underreported by the victims, and I think it's time for girls to have positive adult role models also. So I think that the group leader would serve that purpose, to be a positive adult female role model ideally, and to have an open forum for discussion and ways to grow in their self-worth, and to learn how to build each other up, because I think that that's a huge issue that we're not necessarily addressing with girls these days. The other thing is that girls are focusing so much, from what they're hearing on, like in the media, on social media. They're focused so much on their flaws and what they don't bring to the table, that they can't see their strengths and the things that they do well. So for this group, how we would get group members is a referral from the counselor. And the referral is a written consent that is given to the student and the parents to read over and sign and bring to the first group meeting. We'd have up to 8 girls per group, and it would be over a period of 6 weeks and 90-minute sessions. The meeting place would be the school counseling center. The goals of the group is to identify strengths in themselves, identify strengths in their peers, empower each other, develop a network of peer support, reduce bullying, and develop peer leaders. Some of the anticipated issues that I think we'll face is first a reluctance towards vulnerability. Anytime you start a new group, it's kind of hard to pull down those walls immediately. Takes a little bit of time to start talking and being honest with each other, being honest with yourself. There is very likely to be initial competition with each other, and that's just because they're girls, and teenage girls compete, and they think that so-and-so is pretty, and they don't feel pretty enough, or they don't necessarily think that they measure up, or sometimes they might think that they're better than the other person, so why should they even be here? And also false self-reporting. Maybe somebody's coming into group one week and says that their week has been awesome, but unbeknownst to me, they would have, or the group leader, they would have just dealt with a ton of bullying on social media. Girls, I know that girls are teenagers as a whole, they tend to target each other, like on Instagram and on like from private accounts and secret accounts, and they'll write the meanest things, and nobody knows who is saying it. So if a girl's coming in and saying that she had a wonderful week and that everything is perfect, um, it might not actually be that. So for the purposes of this assignment, I will be taking an integrative approach. Um, um, the group member roles, the girls are going to be required to hold confidentiality. They will be required to be respectful of each other, and that comes with in group, outside of group, and they're expected to participate. So even if that's something as little as just telling their story and maybe just a little bit of insight to what their week's been like or what they think about some of the material that we'll be covering. I think that that's really important, that they know that their voice is heard and that their input is important to the rest of us, because it is. Some of the ethical considerations are that I'll be working with teenage girls, so I would have to have parents know that they're there. I will definitely let the girls know that that whatever shared in group is between us, but not that the parents know that they're here for a specific reason and the kind of group that their daughters are participating in, but that they don't have necessarily the right to know what their daughters say in the group, because it is this is private, and the girls need to be able to feel that they're in a safe place to share. Let's see. So some of the problems that I anticipate in terms of the group stages. In the initial stage, I anticipate long periods of silence, because the girls are going to be testing whether or not they can trust each other, and how much is the girl next to me going to share, what's acceptable to share. And I think that they might want less structure. I have more of a structured schedule, but I don't plan on adhering to it too tightly, just because it's conversation, and I want it to be, while I have like a skeleton and the bare bones of what the group is going to be, I do want the girls to kind of feel the freedom to direct the conversation how they see fit. And if we go over time, then we go over time, and if they want to sit in silence, we can do that too. But there are going to be activities that they can participate in. In the transition stage, I think that the girls, again, are going to be very careful to express themselves in a way that is socially acceptable among their peers. There might be a fear of unresolved problems, and how do they work with their group with that. I think that they're all going to come in wanting to or needing to share different things, but they might not necessarily know how to do that with a group. In the working stage, they might start to feel a little bit more like this is a social hour and this is time for them to gossip, but having to redirect them, I anticipate that's going to be a big thing when we get to the working stage. And in the final stage, I think that there's going to be maybe decreased participation and not a disinterest, but almost feeling like they don't have to work on their stuff anymore, because we're at the end of the group, so they don't need to work on their goals. So as far as the curriculum goes, we'd be covering like what first impressions are of, people have of you and who you really are, what you really identify as. We'll talk about our histories a little bit. We'll talk about goals, long-term goals, bullying. We'll talk about being bullied, bullying others, and witnessing bullying. We'd make some vision boards. We'd practice mindfulness. And one big thing that I'm really looking forward to is having the girls listen to a song called This Is Me from the movie The Greatest Showman. And I think that song in particular has such a powerful message. And I think that it evokes so many feelings. And if you've ever gone through something, and I'm sure everybody has, this is going to be something that I think if the girls are in the right frame of mind, that will touch them in some way, and that they'll really connect with that. And there's going to be some journaling. And so at the end of the group, we'll just talk about some quotes. And I think the biggest goal that I have for the group, or what I would like long term, dreaming big in a perfect world, would be for these girls to feel empowered to mentor middle school girls coming into high school, to make those connections and to be someone younger girls can look up to also. Thank you.